So, you know that feeling when your boss messages you, hey, got a sec? And you already know it's not going to be a 2-minute conversation. That happened to me. I was mid lunch, half a sandwich in, and got hit with, can you pull together a quick summary of where the project stands? I've got a call with the client in 20 minutes. Quick summary? Sure, 20 minutes. So I did what everyone does. Opened Claude, typed something like summarize the status of this project, pasted it in whatever notes I had lying around, and got back an answer. Not a bad one, just flat, generic. The kind of thing you'd get if you asked literally anyone with no context to guess. And I remember sitting there thinking, this can't be as good as it gets. People talk about Claude like it's incredible thinking partner, and here I am getting summaries that read like a form letter. Turns out it wasn't Claude, it was me, specifically how I was asking. There's a real gap between people who type a question and take whatever comes back, and people who have figured out how to actually work with this thing. And it's not about having some secret paid feature you don't have. It's 7 specific habits, small ones. Once you see them, you genuinely cannot go back to prompting the old way. So let's get into it. And I'm going to show you these through 4 people: a PM, someone in HR, someone in finance, and someone in marketing. Because odds are you are one of them or close enough. First one's the easiest, and honestly, the one that surprised me most with how much it changes. Meet Sarah, product manager. Her backlog looks like a junk drawer right now. 40 odd tickets, no real order to any of it, and a leadership review in 2 days that she has not prepped for. Normal move, type, help me prioritize my roadmap, paste the list, cross your fingers. Here's what Sarah does differently. Before she asks anything, she tells Claude who to be. One line: act as a senior product strategist who shipped B2B roadmaps for 10 years. Then the backlog. Then the actual ask. Score it using dice and tie everything back to the Q3 retention goal specifically, not just what seems important. Same exact backlog either way, but the response gets back in right night and day. Because now Claude's not trying to guess what the good prioritization means in the abstract. It's reasoning the way someone who's actually sat in that seat would. It sounds almost too simple to matter. One sentence. But try it side by side. Sometimes, same prompt with and without the role, the gap is bigger than you'd expect. Okay, this next one's Priya's problem. And honestly, I think this is where most people mess up the worst. Priya is in HR. She's got to write feedback for someone, and this is always the hard case. Someone the whole team genuinely likes, but who keeps missing deadlines. You know that email is a minefield before you even start typing it. Too soft, it says nothing. Too direct, it sounds like a legal notice. If Priya just types, write feedback for an underperforming employee, Claude has nothing to go on. It'll handle something generic, technically about feedback, but it would be literally anyone at any company. So instead, she does something that feels almost too obvious to be a move. She gives Claude the material first: the employee's role description, 2 specific examples of missed deadlines, actual ones, not vague ones, and her company's tone of voice guide. So the writing doesn't sound like it came from a template. Only after all that does she ask for a draft. Here's the thing: it feels slower in the moment. It's not, because the alternative is getting a generic draft, then spending 4 rounds saying, no, more like this. No, less formal. No, that's how we talk here. That's not how we talk here. Loading the context first skips all of that back and forth entirely. This one's David in finance, and I actually think about this one a lot because it applies to way more than just budget conversations. David's team came in 12% overall budget. Not catastrophic, but the kind of number that needs a good explanation walking into leadership meeting, or it starts sounding like an excuse. Most people would ask Claude for an explanation of the variance, singular. Whatever comes back, that's what they use, mostly because it's there, and rewriting it feels like an extra work. David does something different. He asks for 3 separate versions: one that leads with the raw data, one that leads with the story, what actually happened and why, and one that leads with what they are already doing to fix it going forward. Then, and this is the part people skip, he actually reads the room he's walking into and picks the version that fits it. Sounds interesting? That's the real difference. One version, and you are just accepting whatever Claude assumed you wanted. Three versions, and suddenly Claude's not answering a question anymore. It's laying out real options and letting you make the call. Which, let's be honest, is what you actually wanted from an advisor in the first place. Maya's up next. Marketing. Two campaign concepts on the table. Budget for exactly one of them and a deadline that's not moving. Which one's better? Ask that, and Claude will give you an answer. A confident one. But here's the catch: confident and correct are not the same thing. So Maya flips the order. Before asking for a recommendation, she asks for the reasoning: audience fit, cost per acquisition risk, timeline risk for both the campaign side by side. The actual recommendation only comes after all of that's laid out. Why does this matter so much? Because when someone in the room inevitably asks, wait, why not the other one? And someone always asks that, Maya's not just repeating back something Claude said. She's walking through the logic herself because she's actually seen it, not just the conclusion. Quick one, and this one's purely about getting your time back. You know that thing where you get a totally fine answer from Claude and then spend the next 10 minutes manually reforming it into whatever you actually needed: a table, bullet points, whatever your boss wants to see? That's Sarah again, actually. Messy meeting transcript, 20 minutes before her updates due. Summarize this, gets her paragraph. A perfectly fine paragraph, and also completely useless for the format she actually needs. So now she just tells Claude this shape upfront: a table, decision, owner, deadline, risk. Keep everything outside the table under 150 words. That's it. Copy paste, done. No reformatting. Doesn't sound like much, but multiply that across every single update you send in a month, and it adds up to a real chunk of time back. Okay, this one, honestly, and if I had to pick just one of the seven, this might be it. Priya again. She gets her first draft of a policy email back from Claude, and it reads exactly the way you would expect corporate HR copy to read: technically correct, grammatically perfect, and completely lifeless. The real kind of email you skim and forget you read. Most people would just send it. It's fine, right? Nobody would call it wrong. Priya doesn't send it. She goes back and says, this sounds too formal for our culture. Rewrite it the way a direct, warm manager would actually say it out loud, and cut anything that sounds like corporate HR speak. The second draft barely reads like the same tool wrote it. Here's the mindset shift, and I think this is the one people miss the most. Claude's first answer was never supposed to be the final one. It's a draft, a really fast, really capable draft, but still a draft. Every single person doing this well is treating it that way: pushing back, redirecting, sending it back for another round instead of just accepting whatever comes out first. Last one, and this is the one that ties the whole thing together, so stick with me. David needs three separate things out of the same variance analysis from earlier: the explanation, a slide ready summary for the deck, and a follow up email to his VP. The average move: three separate chats explaining the whole situation from scratch every single time, which is exhausting, and if we are being honest, completely unnecessary. David just stays in one conversation the whole way through. First, analyze the data, name the top two drivers behind the variance, then turn that into 3 bullet points for the slide. Then draft the email to his VP and make it reference those exact same bullet points. Nothing gets re-explained at any point. Claude's holding to the whole thread the entire time, the way an actual analyst on your team would, if they would be sitting in the room with you this whole time instead of hearing about it secondhand. That right there is the real unlock. Claude stops being something you open up for quick one-off answer, and it starts being something you genuinely work with start to finish. So, a quick recap, because that was a lot. Give it a roll, Load your context before you ask anything. Ask for options instead of settling for one answer. Make it show its reasoning before it gives you a conclusion. Tell it the format you actually need. Push back on the first draft every time. And keep your prompts chained together instead of starting fresh each time. None of that needs a fancier plan. None of it needs a better model than the one you're already using. It just needs you to stop treating Claude like a search bar you type a question into and walk away from. So here's what I would actually do. Pick one and use it on the very next real thing you need done. Not a test prompt, the actual thing sitting in your inbox right now. I put together a free cheat sheet with all the 7 of these. Links below. See you in the next one.